Welcome back to NerdNap Ballistics. Today we are going to be kicking off reloading for the 308 Winchester, aka the NATO Potato. I read that in the forum, liked the name, so I'm sticking with that for this series. But this is the other hunting rifle that I have, and actually the only other bolt-action rifle I have at the moment. And so want to try to work up a load, taking from what I've learned from the 7PRC and apply it to this and see if we can get a round that performs to kind of what we're looking for. Not really trying to push that much speed, don't really have expectations for where it's going to sit, but we're going to dive through the components first and then get to some initial ladder test of what we have today. So first, let's dive through the rifle that we're shooting. This is a Hala 1500 chambered in 308, and this is sitting in a stocky stock VGA for vertical grip, adjustable. Sponge painted it myself and then topped off with a Leica M+6 2.5 to 15 by 56. Great scope, second focal plane, but have shot it very well. It's a great round, and so for the components of what we will be shooting and loading up for this rifle is we will be sticking with the 178 grain ELDXs. This is the round that is found in the Precision 100 load, and that is the load that this rifle liked from the factory side. So continuing with that as we go to the hand loads itself. We will be loading that into alpha brass and shooting that over varget. Those are the components that we'll be using. So let's talk about the process and how we're going to load those rounds. So for brass prep and seating, we are going to be using the Area 419 S series die for the full length sizing. This also has a mandrel inside of it, so 2 steps in one process, which is nice. And then we are going to be using the RCVS Matchmaster seating die. I really enjoyed the bullet seating window from the 7PRC reloading, so went back to that die. We did the jam test for the ELDX following Eric Cortina's process, full length sizing it, putting a bullet in there, seating it long, lubing it up, letting the jam seat the bullet, popping it out, and we found out that the cartridge overall length to find the jam far exceeds Sammy's guidelines, so we will be seating it pretty far off of jam, but trying to seat it to max cartridge overall length, which is 2.810 for the 308. So we will be going just a hair under that, just to make sure that if there's any inconsistencies with the total bullet length, that we're not running into issues seating in the magazine. So we're trying to aim for about 2.8, which is similar to what the rounds within the reloading manuals are using for their cases. So let's dive back into some of the lessons that I've learned from the reloading process, and then we will talk about the ladder test that we're going to shoot.
Well, this was a little bit annoying. I went through the process of taking some old 308 brass, trying to build up a load from Hornady just to test fire and get familiar with it. Washed it, annealed it, sized it, trim chamfered the bird, rewashed it, and then I noticed I couldn't see the primer and noticed this kind of wall inside the primer pocket, which apparently means that this is a crimped primer pocket and I can't load that. Thankfully, I ordered some alpha brass, but we can see the difference in the primer pockets. So it looks like we will not be testing on any Hornady brass and just moving straight to the alpha brass. So wasted a few hours, but at least we know what we're doing moving forward.
2 things to note that have been very nice prepping the brass for the initial shooting is that the Area 419 sizing die, it's very convenient to have both the full length sizing and the mandrel done in one step. So that's really nice to be able to have. And then 2 is the bullet that we're shooting, the 178 ELDXs, was able to have much more consistent seating depth with this bullet using the Matchmaster seating die compared to the 7PRC. So that was an issue that I noted in the latest video for the reloading for the 7PRC and the 10-shot group, the annealed versus mandrel versus ADG unfired brass. But I did some research online, and it appears that the VLDHs are a unique bullet that requires a special seating stem, but without diving too much into that, we're going to discuss that on the 7PRC channel as we move forward with trying to figure out if we're sticking with that load or not. But it was great to be able to set the seating die. It seems like the seating stem within the Matchmaster likes the ELDXs, so we were able to get pretty consistent seating up there. So for the ladder test that we're going to shoot, it looks like book minimum is around 41 to 42 grains, with book's max being a 45 grain compressed load within the 308 for the 175 to 180 bullets. So we are going to start off about midpoint in that range at 43, and then we're going to go to 43.5 just to see where we are speed wise, and then we're going to go up in 0.3 increments, 0.3 grain increments until we hit 44.7. No need to push up to book max, really not trying to chase speed, hoping to fall somewhere in the middle of those ranges, maybe around 44.1 to 44.4, but we will see what the rounds perform. But we are going to load up 20 rounds overall, 3 rounds at 43, 43.5, 43.8, and then 4 rounds at 44.1 and 44.4, and then 3 rounds at 44.7. So those will be the initial 20 rounds that we're going to put through the rifle, hoping to see some good SDs in there, but we will see what happens. So let's head to the range and shoot those bullets. One quick point before we go to the range, please remember that these rounds need to be tested in your own rifle. Please do not take what I am doing for this rifle and these loads, that they will be safe in your rifle. Please do your own workups and make sure that any load is safe in your rifle before shooting. With that, let's head to the range. Okay, looking through the chronograph data, we can see that we have some pretty promising nodes, specifically somewhere between 43.5 to 43.8. It seems like there might be a velocity node in there. We only saw an increase of about 15 feet per second between the 2 groups, and we saw 2 standard deviations being below 5. So we'll probably pick the low side, either 43.6 or 43.7, just to be safe, as we saw the SDs kind of spike up and then drop back down as we got up to that 44.4 grain load, but the tail ends of those, we want to be somewhere between 43.5 to 43.8. It seems like these are only 3-shot groups. These are not conclusive datas. It is not statistically significant, but it gives us an insight into where the rifle might be. It looks like it'll put us somewhere at that 2650 to 2660 range. We'll see what that means for dope as we get out to distance. One thing that is really interesting that made me think about the 7PRC load is the fact that when we shot the 7PRC, we didn't get a single SD within the single digits, I don't think. Top of my head, could be wrong. I can go back and look, but the fact that we have 3 groups under 5 SD, it seems like maybe I might be looking at a powder change for the 7PRC to Rotumbo, or maybe a Vitivori N560 or whatever powders out there. But really promising to see the results that we did from this test. So next up, we will need to do a seating depth test. We'll probably move to 5-shot groups for that portion. But right now, our cartridge base to O-drive measurement is 2.138. And so we'll start working back in about 3 thou increments, probably shoot 6 5-shot groups and see how they perform. If we need to shoot more further back, we can. We know we really can't shoot anything further forward because we're going to run into max cartridge overall length issues. So we're going to work back from 2.138 and see how this rifle performs. So promising results from the initial test. We have 3 groups under 5 in terms of standard deviation, 2 groups side by side, which means that we have our velocity node that we are going to hope holds true as we get to more statistically significant groups. We are going to load up likely about 6 5-shot groups to do our seating depth test, starting from 2.138, which is where we shot this load, and working back, because if we go above 2.138, then we hit max cartridge overall length issues with feeding from magazines. But excited to see how this rifle continues to perform, especially as we try to tune the seating depth to help shrink those groups down. But we will post that video once we're able to get back out to the range. So until the next one, stay safe and shoot straight.